Hey there, bookworms. Welcome to Pouring Over Books, a podcast where we dive into the books we love and maybe a few we didn't. I'm your host, LaShawn, and every week I'll be deep diving into what I'm reading, recommendations, and talking about all the things that we love about books. So grab your favorite coffee or tea, find a cozy spot, and let's get ready to pour over some great books together. Hey, friends. Welcome back to the Pouring Over Books podcast. I am LaShawn, your book-loving friend, and I am so happy that you are here for another episode. How, friends, are we 16 days out until Christmas? And how, once again, have I done no Christmas shopping? Like every year, I say, this is the year I'm going to shop early. I'm going to be done by Black Friday week at the latest, but it never happens. So I'm going to be scrambling this week to buy things, and most likely next week too. And now I have to debate if I'm buying everything online since I'm last minute or if I'm going to brave the store. I don't want to brave the stores. I was there this weekend and it's a mess. I mean, literally, I felt like I was in a hoarder's house when I was in Home Goods this weekend. Like, you literally could not get through the aisles, all the crap that there was just everywhere. I just want to stay home and finish decorating and listening to my latest book while sipping eggnog, and I don't know if that's going to happen. But anyway, that segues nicely into our topic of the week, friends, which is audiobook. My favorite. This week, I'm going to try to convince you that listening to audiobooks is where it's at. It's a trend you need to get on. Okay, so let me, in defense of audiobooks, let me tell you why you should listen to audiobooks. Let me give you 3 reasons to love them. Number 1, you can multitask while reading. Listen, as an extreme multitasker, I have always loved the idea of being able to indulge in one of my favorite habits while going about my day. So, like, I listen to audiobooks while I'm cooking, while I'm cleaning the bathrooms, driving in the car, sometimes while shopping at Target. Once I had to stop in the middle of a particularly intense, sexy scene to argue with a cashier that the sweater was, in fact, on sale. It was kind of awkward and disconcerting at the same time, and bless her heart, she didn't know why I was blushing. I also like the tandem read, meaning that while I'm out and about and listening, I can be listening, but then before bed, I tend to switch to my Kindle or so. That's the number 1 reason, the way you can multitask, which is, in this busy world, a good idea always. Number 2, audiobooks give your eyes a break. Listen, we spend at least 8 to 10 hours a day looking at some type of screen, like whether it be at work, on a computer, or you scroll your phones and tablets endlessly. We watch TV, which of course can lead to long-term vision problems like eye strain, blurred vision, and nearsightedness. Also, give your eyes a break and listen to your story instead. And the last reason I want to give you this morning is because audiobooks have the same benefits as reading physical books. A study published by the Journal of Neuroscience, that I will link in the show notes, found that the stories stimulate the brain in the same way, regardless of whether they were read or heard. Did you hear that? So whether you're reading print books, audiobooks, you're still absorbing the information effectively. Plus, for people with dyslexia and other disabilities, audiobooks can be an essential tool to access literature. And don't you want everyone to have access? See, it's perfect. So once again, I'm going to link that study because I want everybody to read that and stop with this madness of audiobooks isn't reading. The end. Okay? Okay, so now that I've convinced you to give audiobooks a try, where do you listen? Friend, there are so many places, and I unfortunately am a member of them all, but I'm going to give you my top 3 right now. Yeah, so the first one is Audible. Let's start here. Because yes, it's a part of Amazon, but if you are looking for convenience and a humongous, almost endless catalog, start here. It's easy. Of course it is. It's Amazon. It connects to your existing Amazon account, and they always have sales. I've left a link in the show notes if you want to check it out. I believe it's 99 cents for 3 months if you join now, so check that out. My second favorite, actually my favorite one right now to use to listen to audiobooks is Libro FM. It's a personal fave because your purchases support small independent bookstores. So it's like the audiobook version of bookshop.org, which also supports independent bookstores. I support Brave and Kind here in Atlanta with my subscription. So right now, when you start one new credit a month membership and use the code SWITCH, you can get 2 bonus audiobooks at sign up. So I'm also going to put that link in the show notes. These make great Christmas gifts also. Great last minute Christmas gifts. You can just give somebody a membership and boom, they're your friend for life. Okay. That was a side note. Okay, back to our discussion. The third place that I would suggest that you listen to the third place that I'm going to suggest that you listen to audiobooks is Libby from the library. Libby is a free app where you can enjoy ebooks, digital audiobooks, magazines, all from your public library. Keep in mind that there may be a longer wait for some more popular books, and sometimes they won't have some books that you might be looking for. That is the thing. It's the library. It's free. I mean, work with it. I use it. I mean, if you really want to use it, I like to use it as a supplement. But if you are on a budget, go with Libby, friend. The library. Keep our libraries open by using them. Okay. Okay. Now, and while I'm speaking on where to listen to audiobooks, I will say I'm gonna give it just a little aside and mention Spotify. I almost said Spotify, simply because you get one free audiobook a month if you have a premium subscription. So that if you already have a premium subscription, go ahead and listen to an audiobook on there and see what you think. Since it's already included. Amazon Music just started doing the same thing. So if you have Amazon Music, you now get a free audiobook a month. Okay. So that's that. All right. So now that I've told you why you need to read audiobooks and how you can get to them, let's get into the audiobooks I'm going to recommend you start with. So, number 1, Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. Fun fact, this is actually the very first audiobook I've ever listened to. And it left such an impression on me that I was like, oh, okay, where have I been? Let me listen to more. Between his actual story and his accent, this is still one of the best books I've ever listened to. Plus, he is an awesome storyteller. It is just so good. It is so entertaining to listen to him, and it's soothing almost. Number 2, Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love this book. When I first read it, I read this book before audiobooks became a thing, but I recently re-listened to it on audiobook because I heard a rumor that it was really good and I wanted to see. And the audiobook is performed by an all-star cast of 21 different performers. Some of the best-known actors in the cast include Jennifer Beals as Daisy Jones, Pablo Scribner, I guess you could say, as Billy Dunn, Benjamin Bratt as Graham Dunn, and Judy Greer as Karen Circa. The audiobook is fabulous. The novel is written in like an interview style, based documentary style, and every character has a different reader. It is an excellent job. It's a production, and it's like a movie. Get into it. The third book that I want, hold on, had to get me a sip of water, sorry. The third book that I want to mention is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. If you have ever read this book, you know that it's written primarily in colloquial, like the bulk of the novel is written in, I guess you can say a dialect, meant to sound like how Southern Black Americans spoke to each other in the early 1900s. And because like, it's like the very first line, where is it? The very first line of when Janie returns to Eatonville, one of her neighbor asks, what's she doing coming back here in them overalls? It's them overalls. And when I say it, it sounds fine, but when you're trying to read it, it can be a little disconcerting because I remember, I picked up this book in high school and I had to it took me like a chapter to be like, because my brain had to switch. And I know a lot of people don't read this book because they're like, I can't, because of how it's written, because it's written like you talk. It can be jarring but it is such a beautiful novel. So I have started suggesting the Audible version because it's narrated beautifully by the late Ruby Dee, and she just does such a fabulous job. And I think everybody should read this book. And so I'm going to recommend that you start, if this is your first foray into a Zora Neale Hurston book, specifically Their Eyes Were Watching God, I'm going to suggest that you listen to the Audible first. Okay, so the fourth book I want to talk about is Fourth Wing. Yes, Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, but I'm going to suggest the graphic audio version. Okay, I know, but hear me out. I've read the book. I've listened to the original audio version of this book, but the graphic audio was on sale, so I got it. And it's like listening to a full-on movie. Like Daisy Jones and the Six, you have a full-on cast of characters, cinematic music. It even has sound effects. And remember, this has dragons in it, so the sound effects are everything. It is awesome. And if you don't like this book, listen to the graphic audio. I have all of the Avatar books on graphic audio, so should have known that this would be good because it's like listening to a movie in your ears. It is glorious. You're just sitting there like, this is great. You can get this just in time for the third. You can get the first and you can get the second one, Iron Flame. That one is also on graphic audio. You can get this just in time for the third book coming out in January. So get into it. The last book that I'm going to suggest that you listen to as an Audible is Will by Will Smith. This was hands down one of the most entertaining and interactive audiobooks I've ever listened to. Will Smith reads, raps, acts out. It is a good time, friends. Not only was his own story good, but just the way, he's an actor. So he acted out this book. He deserved an Oscar, a Grammy, and whatever else you wanted for this book. It's excellent. And it's like I said, it's a good time. Remember when I was talking about Mariah Carey's book? How she sing, but Will Smith took it to the next notch. So yeah, that's that. Okay, friends, I hope I've convinced you to listen to audiobooks. Keeping in that vein, let me tell you what I've been listening to on audio past week or two. Currently, I am obsessed with the Royal Houses fantasy series by Kay Lindy. I don't know how I got hooked on this. I don't know. I don't even remember where I heard about this series. Somebody was reading it on, I think, Bookstagram, and I was like, oh, well. And I was looking for it, and I saw that the Audible book was free. Because sometimes that's the thing about Audible, which is why I have to recommend it, because sometimes you know how you can get Kindle Unlimited? Sometimes there are books on Audible that are free, like Kindle Unlimited. And Audible, this was the whole series, except for the last two, were free. So I was like, because the last book in this series comes out in February, I do believe. And the last one in here the one before that wasn't free, but it was like on sale for like $1.99 because Audible was having that big sale. So I got all of them, the free ones, and then because there are 5 books, I think. So I got them all after I listened to like half of the first one because I was like, this is good. At first glance, it seems to be your typical YA-ish fantasy. I thought it was YA because it was good. Fantasy novels usually have good character building. Even the world building tends to be a little better than your typical romantasy, you might want to say. But this one, it was really good to me because I was like, oh, it's good character development. I'm learning about these people, and you see the growth. That's one thing YA fantasy writers do an excellent job of. So I thought, okay, this is YA-ish fantasy. And see, plus the little love story was like pining, yearning, some kisses, but mainly pining, yearning. And you kind of, it was implied that the main character had done the do before, but it wasn't on the page. It was like, it wasn't overt like most romantic novels these days are. So I was into it. I was like, okay, this is YA. But I got a joke yesterday when there was some sexy time thrown in that was not YA. It's still what I can appreciate about K.A. Lindy is she's not as graphic, you might want to say, as a lot of our romantasy romantic writers are these days. We'll have to do an episode sooner or later on what I'm going to call smut for smut's sake, because sometimes I feel like they throw in these scenes, and look, I will never turn down a good smut scene, like ever. But sometimes I feel like they throw in smut just to say there was some smut, because sometimes it's just ridiculous. It makes no sense. It's gotten to that point where I can subtlety, because these days there's nothing subtle anymore. Now, like I said, I'm all for a good smut scene when it's in its place. But like I said, I'm gonna have to do an episode on smut for smut's sake. Like, when is it? Is there ever too much smut? When does it teeter over into porn? Or when does it teeter over into erotica and it's no longer, you know what I mean? Is there a line? But that's a whole nother discussion for another day. Anyway, let's go back to this book. It wasn't graphic or anything. I was just pleasantly surprised, like I said, about this little scene. I was like, oh. And then, like, maybe a few chapters later, they did the do, and I was like, but even then, it was subtle. After all this yearning and pining they've been doing, it was subtle. I miss a classic sex scene, and I didn't realize I did until I actually read one. But anyway, especially when you're listening to Audible, because when you listen to a book on audio, sometimes the sex scenes, what reads well on a page, doesn't. It's an art to that. And so I was pleased that I was not cringing during this sex scene. But anyway, I'm intrigued by this series because of the underlying tones of race and class also that run through it, which was kind of unexpected to me, but it's a lot of parallels, and what that all means is woven in. And I'm still trying to get through This Motherless Land by Nikki May. I took a break, but I'm really determined to finish it before the end of the year, so I probably won't review it for you guys until next year. Just a reminder, it's a light retelling of Jane Austen's Mansfield Park. And I love a good retelling of anything Jane Austen. So that is how I got caught up in that. Anyway, if you want to learn more about that book, listen to last week's episode. Because, yeah. All right. So also currently trying to figure out how I'm going to make my pound cake gluten-free this year. My son's palate has finally expanded enough that I feel like I could do this and it won't be wasted. Plus, I'm making a smaller pound cake this year because, we're just not going to eat all of it. And I'm tired of saying I'm going to freeze it or give it away, and then it doesn't. And then I end up throwing away cake, which is a travesty. I'm making 2 cakes this year. I'm making a gluten-free pound cake, and I'm going to make a red velvet cake. And that's our desserts. My mother, when she gets back, will make my husband a sweet potato pie. I'm not making a sweet potato pie, y'all. I don't like making pie. And that's just me. So she can make him a pie when she gets back if he wishes. I might ask her to make a pecan pie. We'll see. Anyway, the next thing I'm currently doing is gearing up for our book club that starts in January. It's once again, it's hosted over on Substack. And the theme for 2025 is 90s Black Girl Chick Lit. Our first book is Fly Girl by Omar Tyree, and I'm getting ready to get a head start and start creating a few things for our book club members. You can still join. You can join for the whole year, or you can look at the list of books that we're going to be reading, which is up. I will leave a link to that. You can look at the book list of books, and you can join on the month of the book that you want to listen to. It's up to you. We would love to have you all year long. But I understand, and I will take you for however long you can give me. I'm also working on a book challenge for folks who don't want to feel confined by specific books to read, but want, let's say, a theme or a challenge to get them reading. I'm working on something for you guys too. That might include a giveaway. We'll see. I'm working on it. I've got, how you have a million ideas in your head, but then you have to find the time to execute them. That's me right now. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today, friends. We will have one more episode next week to conclude the year and season 1. I'm so excited about that I've actually got to that point. I'm like, woohoo, I'm going to get to 6 episodes, and I'm excited to start anew in January. Next week, I'll be talking about my favorite books of 2024. I think I have read all of the books that I'm going to read that are going to be included in that list. And that is that. Remember, if you like the podcast, to make sure you share some love. I'd love for you to follow me on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. And if you have a quick minute, please consider leaving me a review or sharing us on social media. It truly helps me connect with other book lovers, which is the whole point of this. Okay, friends, talk to you soon. Have a great week. I will see you next week. Bye.